Check the terrace, the waiter whispered. I don't know why he whispered. Maybe because he saw my hand shaking, or maybe because he already knew what I was about to find. Either way, I didn't thank him. I just walked. Past the champagne glasses still half full. Past the string quartet tuning out a melody no one was listening to anymore. Past the table where she'd laughed, just 30 minutes earlier, with her arm wrapped around my shoulder like we were still something worth photographing. It was her dream birthday. I know that because she planned it accidentally in front of me, rambling to her sister on speakerphone a month ago. I don't know. Maybe something romantic. Rooftop, city lights, the kind of vibe where you forget real life for a night. She never asked for it, but I gave it to her anyway. Every last detail. Now I was walking toward the terrace like I'd been summoned. Like something was calling me to ruin. And there they were. Her dress was wrinkled, not from dancing. His tie was undone, his hand low on her back. They weren't kissing, not quite. But they were in that stage right before. That stage where time slows down and gravity forgets how to behave. She wasn't pulling away. She was leaning in. I didn't speak. I didn't storm. I just watched. She giggled, as if this moment, this betrayal, was another joke in a long line of things she thought she'd get away with. When she finally turned and saw me, she didn't look surprised. Not like a person caught. More like someone annoyed that I hadn't waited until morning to fall apart. You're not supposed to be up here, she said. Not I'm sorry. Not this isn't what it looks like. Just that. I walked toward her slowly, opened the little velvet box I'd carried in my pocket all night. Inside was a ring, not hers. Mine. I had it resized that morning. Cleaned. Polished. I thought maybe tonight, in the right moment, I'd renew our vows. I thought it would fix something broken. Instead, I placed the ring on the ledge of the terrace, right next to the half-drunk flute of champagne she had no intention of finishing. Then I turned around. She didn't follow me. He didn't speak. And no one from the party ever asked why I left early. But I know what they'll wonder when they see the photos. Why she smiled so wide when I wasn't in the frame. The morning after was too quiet. That kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from something dying in the room overnight. Her shoes were still by the door. Her jacket was draped over the chair like it had just returned from a night of celebration. There was even a thank you card with a heart drawn in pink ink, sitting untouched on the kitchen counter. A card I knew she bought in advance, probably as part of the act. I didn't touch any of it. I went straight to the bedroom. The bed looked untouched, maybe because it had been. She hadn't come home. I wasn't even surprised. The only thing that made my stomach twist was the notification light blinking on her tablet. I wasn't going to check. I swear. I stood there like a statue, trying to convince myself I still had dignity. But curiosity is a poison that looks like permission when you're in pain. So I tapped the screen. It opened instantly. No password. No guilt. The gallery app was already running. The last photo taken? Her, leaning on the rooftop railing, city lights behind her, a soft orange glow on her face. She looked euphoric, like someone who had won a war. I kept swiping, not knowing what I was hoping for. Proof? Regret? Then I saw them. Not selfies. Not posed. Candid shots. Him taking her hand, her whispering something in his ear, her gripping his shirt like he was her gravity. The worst one wasn't even the most graphic. It was the one where she looked happy. Not fake party happy. Not Instagram happy. But real, soul unburdened, childlike happy. I'd forgotten she could even smile like that. She hadn't posted any of them. Not on Facebook. Not on Instagram. Online, she was still the devoted wife thanking everyone who made last night magical. Her caption under the photo of my dessert table literally said, "He always knows how to spoil me sparkling heart." I felt sick. I slammed the tablet shut and walked out onto the porch, trying to breathe air that didn't feel used. That's when I saw the mail. A small envelope, no return address, just my name in blocky handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a single photo. It was printed on glossy paper, not something casual. It had been selected. Deliberate. The image was clear. The rooftop. Her arms around him. His hand where mine should have been. A timestamp at the bottom corner. The exact moment I'd been downstairs giving a toast in her honor. Someone had sent it to me on purpose. I didn't know who. Not yet. But someone at that party, someone close enough to capture that, wanted me to know the truth she had no intention of confessing. And for the first time in hours, I didn't feel weak. I felt watched. And oddly, a little less alone. I sat in the car for nearly an hour with the photo in my lap, staring at the timestamp like it could explain something to me. My hands kept gripping the steering wheel like I might suddenly drive off, but I didn't know where to go. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the fact that someone had seen it and chose to tell me. It changed the entire story. Someone out there knew more than I did. And while my wife was smiling her way through another carefully filtered Instagram post, someone else was holding on to the truth like it burned their fingers. I scanned through every face I remembered from that night. Half of them were her friends. A few were mutual, but I didn't recognize whoever had taken that picture. It was too well framed to be an accident, too perfectly timed to be coincidence. That meant someone waited for that moment. Back inside the house, the air was stale. Her perfume still clung to the hallway like a stain. I sat on the couch and tried to think clearly, but my brain kept getting stuck on details that shouldn't matter, like the fact that her lipstick in the photo didn't match the one she wore earlier that evening. Did she reapply before meeting him? Did she always carry a backup shade for someone else? I opened my laptop and began combing through the guest list. A digital copy of RSVPs, table assignments, even dietary restrictions. I studied every name, every email address, hoping something would jump out. Then I saw it. A name that hadn't shown up on the original list. Nora Klein, +1. I didn't know her. She wasn't on Jenna's side of the family or her coworkers. I clicked on her email. It bounced back. The address didn't exist. That was intentional. Someone came to that party under a fake name, brought a +1, and never meant to be noticed. I scrolled further and found the table she was assigned to, table 8, right next to the balcony staircase. The same one that overlooked where Jenna and Drew had been. My stomach twisted. That's where the angle of the photo was taken from. Direct line of sight. Whoever this Nora was, she was the one who sent it. But why? I didn't have to wait long. That night, just before midnight, I received a message from an unknown number. No greeting. No explanation. Just one sentence. You deserve to know who she's really been. Attached was an audio file. I hesitated before pressing play. It felt like I was on the edge of something I couldn't come back from. But I tapped it anyway. Jenna's voice. Soft. Drunk. Carefree. I know. But he's like a golden retriever. Loyal. Predictable. I don't even think he sees me anymore. He just does things for me. Like he's trying to earn points. Then laughter. Not hers, his. Drew. You gonna tell him? A pause. Then. Why would I? He's funding my dream life. This place, this dress, this entire party, it's all him. But you? You're the reason I'm alive. I stopped the recording. My throat went dry. I didn't even notice I dropped the phone until it clattered onto the floor. That wasn't just betrayal. That was strategy. I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a budget line in her fairy tale. I picked up the phone again, hands trembling. I texted back. Who are you? 3 dots blinked for a moment. Then nothing. Whoever they were, they wanted me to feel what Jenna never thought I'd be brave enough to face. But now I was awake. Every sound she made, every gift I gave, every trip she asked for, none of it had been love. It was all math. Cost versus benefit. She chose him, but someone else chose me. And I was going to find out why. The message haunted me for hours. I stared at my phone long after the typing bubble disappeared, hoping they'd say something else, give me more. But nothing came. Just silence. And that damn recording replaying in my head, over and over again. Her voice so casual, so amused by my devotion, like I was some eager intern fetching coffee while she ran the show with another man. It was the kind of thing that rewires your memories in real time. Suddenly, every moment we'd shared became suspect. Every, I love you, sounded transactional in hindsight. A tip of the hat for services rendered. I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed I was at the party again, but this time I was the one in the shadows, watching everyone toast to a lie I funded. When I woke up, the first thing I did was listen to the recording again. This time, I picked up on something subtle. Ambient noise. Music. The clinking of glasses. It wasn't just a private conversation. It happened at the party, meaning someone was recording them that night. Not after. Not in secret later. During. That narrowed things down fast. Someone at that party not only watched Jenna betray me, they expected it. Enough to be ready. Enough to be strategic. I grabbed my laptop and started reaching out to anyone who might have been near the terrace that night. Innocuous messages, small talk. Hey, so great seeing you again. Wasn't that night wild? Most ignored me. A few replied with emoji-only energy. Then I messaged a woman named Lacey, Jenna's friend from college. The one I always felt had a little too much fun at our expense. She responded almost immediately. "You okay?" she asked. I stared at that question for too long. It felt targeted, loaded. "Why do you ask?" I typed. Her reply was instant. "I'm guessing you found out." Found out what? My fingers couldn't keep up with my brain. I sent back. "What do you mean?" No reply. For 20 minutes. Then finally, a message popped up. "I wanted to tell you that night. I thought maybe you already knew. But she was so confident you wouldn't notice. She said you'd be too busy making speeches to realize she'd left." My mouth went dry. "You saw her?" Another pause. "Wade? She's been seeing Drew for months. Maybe longer. A couple of us knew. We just didn't know how to say it." I wanted to scream. Not just at Jenna. At all of them. Everyone who smiled at me that night. Everyone who clinked glasses. Everyone who watched me pour champagne into crystal flutes while my wife whispered dreams into another man's mouth. They knew, and they let me perform. Like I was the warm-up act before the real show began. I wrote back, "Who recorded it?" Lacey didn't respond. She didn't have to, because minutes later, my phone buzzed again. New number. No contact. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a link. No context. Just a URL. Against my better judgment, I clicked it. It led to a private cloud folder. One video file. I hit play. It opened with the camera facing down, someone hiding the phone, probably in a purse or pocket. Then, movement. Audio kicked in. Her laugh. His laugh. A wine glass clinked against metal. She was right next to the person filming. It wasn't a zoomed-in shot from across the room. Whoever recorded it was at the table with them. And then I heard something else. My voice. From a distance, I was giving my toast. Telling a crowd how much I loved her. How she changed my life. While she was sitting at a table, leaned in close to Drew, her hand sliding along his thigh under the tablecloth. She whispered, "He really thinks this means something." The camera stayed still. The person recording never interrupted, never flinched. They wanted this on record. The video ended just as Drew leaned in and whispered back something I couldn't make out. But the look on Jenna's face was crystal clear. It was the look of someone winning. I closed the laptop and sat there, not moving. The anger was there, sure, but beneath it, shame. Not just for being lied to, but for missing it. For being so desperate to keep our life shiny on the outside that I didn't see the rot beneath. Whoever this person was, this ghost behind the camera, they had watched the entire betrayal unfold and chose to pull me into the truth, piece by piece. But why? Revenge? Pity? Something worse? I was about to message the number back when a new message came through, unprompted. "You don't know me, but she ruined something of mine too. You're not the only one she lied to." That's when everything shifted. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. Jenna had secrets layered behind secrets, and someone else had been caught in the fallout long before I ever knew it started. I stared at the message for a long time. "You're not the only one she lied to." Those words shouldn't have surprised me, not after the things I'd seen. The photos, the video, the audio recording of her mocking me mid-toast. But somehow, they cracked open something deeper. If she had betrayed me, she could have betrayed anyone. And clearly, someone else had bled long before I did. But the idea that this person, the one who recorded everything, who sent evidence piece by piece, had also been collateral in Jenna's schemes made everything more complicated. I messaged back, "Who are you?" A full minute passed before a reply came. I was her friend. Until I wasn't. That didn't tell me much. My hands hovered over the keyboard, heart racing. I typed, deleted, typed again. Then finally, "You were at the party. You recorded it." What? This time the response came faster. "Because she made me believe I mattered. And then she used me. Lied to me. Cut me out like I was nothing. She doesn't just break hearts, Wade. She erases people." My throat went dry. This wasn't just a bitter friend with a grudge. This was someone who had watched Jenna destroy something personal, something that still hadn't healed. Then another message. "She said you were pathetic. That you were comfortable to come home to, but she needed real fire." She laughed when I said it sounded cruel. That one stung. I didn't know this person. I didn't even know what they looked like. But they were cutting open old wounds like they knew where every nerve lived. I should have shut it down. Blocked the number. Gone dark and spared myself the next spiral. But instead, I said the only thing that felt honest. "Why help me?" Their answer shook me. Because someone should have helped me. No one did. And I'm tired of watching her win. Silence followed. Long enough to feel like the end of a chapter. I set my phone down and just sat there. It was raining now, soft, steady taps against the window, like the sky was too polite to break into a full cry. Fitting, really. Later that afternoon, Jenna came home. Like nothing had happened. She walked in carrying 2 shopping bags and humming something tuneless, like she was floating through her own little movie scene. I watched her from the kitchen doorway. She didn't see me at first, or maybe she did and didn't care. She dropped her purse on the table, kicked off her heels, and opened the fridge like she was returning from yoga. "You didn't pick up when I texted," she said without looking. "I figured you were sulking." "Sulking?" I said nothing. She finally turned, half smiling like someone posing for a magazine ad. "Wade, come on. Don't make this a thing. It was just a party." I disappeared for a bit. "So what?" I got caught up talking. "You're always overanalyzing." That's when I realized she thought I still hadn't figured it out. I hadn't said a word about the photo, or the recording, or the video. To her, I was still in the dark. Still the guy holding the clipboard, checking on caterers while she slipped out for balcony confessions and tableside seduction. I saw her clearly now, not just as a wife who betrayed me, but as a performer rehearsing her lines. There was no guilt, no flinch, just the quiet, calculated expectation that I'd been like always. I didn't answer her. I just asked, "Do you know someone named Nora Klein?" The pause was microscopic. A fraction of a second. But it was there. She blinked, then laughed. "Who?" I leaned on the doorway. "She RSVP'd to your party. With a +1. But no one remembers her being there." "I figured you might know." "I don't," she said, too quickly. Then softer, "Why are you being weird?" I didn't respond. Because I didn't need to anymore. The power had shifted. She just didn't know it yet. Later that night, I got another message from the stranger. "Want to know the part she's most afraid you'll find out?" I typed one word. "Yes." They replied, "It wasn't her first affair." "And Drew? He's not the worst one. You're going to want to sit down for the next part." I didn't sit down like they told me to. I stood, still, staring at the screen with a grip on my phone, so tight it left marks. Maybe part of me already sensed where this was going. Maybe I just didn't want to let myself believe there was more than one skeleton rattling in Jenna's closet. But denial is a luxury, and I was running out of things I could pretend not to see. "You're going to want to sit down for the next part," the message had read. And then, "Check your email." Subject line, Westport. I opened my laptop. My inbox blinked like a loaded trap. I clicked. One email, no sender name, no message body. Just an attached file labeled, "Security footage, July 22nd, Westport Inn." That name, Westport Inn, rang a soft bell. I'd never been there, but I remembered Jenna mentioning it once. Said it was too far out of the way for her work retreat last summer, which she claimed had been hosted at a lakeside lodge with coworkers and herbal tea workshops. I had believed her. Of course I had. I was a professional believer. I opened the video. The timestamp showed 3:12 a.m. The camera angle was from the hallway outside room 216. For a while, nothing happened. Then, motion. A figure emerged from the stairwell. Hoodie up. Head down. Jenna. She didn't knock. She used a keycard. Room 216. Moments later, the door opened again. Another figure stepped out into the hallway, shirtless, holding the door with one hand, stretching the other out like a man who had just woken up from a long, satisfied sleep. I paused the video. The resolution wasn't great, but the face was unmistakable. Logan. Not just anyone. My brother. My little brother. The one who stayed at our house when his apartment flooded last year. The one who cried when our dad passed away and told me, "You're the only person I've ever looked up to." The one Jenna always said was charming in a reckless sort of way, and I laughed because I thought it was harmless. I stared at the screen, while rising in my throat. She wasn't just cheating. She was embedding herself in the only family I had left. This wasn't about desire or mistakes or spontaneous balcony kisses anymore. This was deliberate, corrosive, rot from the inside kind of betrayal. I couldn't even process it fully. I just sat there, numb, as the video kept playing. Jenna leaned out of the hotel room, pulled Logan back in by his waistband, and the door shut. That was the moment I broke. Not because I hadn't suffered enough already, but because for the first time, I realized that this whole thing wasn't just an affair. It was a pattern. Jenna didn't trip and fall into someone else's arms. She searched for leverage. For people close enough to me that their betrayal would feel nuclear. And Logan? He hadn't even flinched the last time I saw him. Came to my house a few weeks ago, drank beer on my porch, Said he was proud of the life I'd built. Was it pride? Or was he just admiring his own damage? My phone buzzed again. A message from the anonymous number. I tried to warn him too, but he didn't care. She always picks the ones who think they're too clever to get caught. I typed furiously, "Why are you doing this? Why now?" A pause. Then, because she almost destroyed me, and no one stopped her. I wanted someone to know who she really is. And now, maybe you'll actually do something about it. But what was I supposed to do? Drag Logan into the street? Confront Jenna with printed screenshots and hotel security footage? Tell our neighbors, our friends, our coworkers? Or do what I'd always done? Say nothing, clean up quietly, and die a little more inside each time someone asked how the lovely Jenna was doing. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch, phone in one hand, ring box in the other. At one point, around 4 a.m., I walked into the kitchen and opened the junk drawer. Inside was a birthday card I'd forgotten to give her. It was still sealed, still waiting. The front said, "To my partner and everything." I threw it in the sink and lit a match. It didn't feel like revenge. It just felt overdue. By morning, I had a new message. She knows someone's been talking. She's starting to panic. Be careful what you say. She's not done lying yet. And for the first time, I believed it. Because liars like Jenna don't stop when they're exposed. They shift. They twist. And they strike again. There are certain sounds you never forget. The cracking of ice beneath your feet. The sputter in an engine right before it dies on a highway. And the voice of someone you once loved, lying with such ease, even while their world is beginning to fall apart around them. That morning started deceptively quiet. Jenna made coffee like nothing had happened, like the night before hadn't changed the trajectory of our lives. She even offered me a cup like we were still playing house in some sitcom where last night's drama resets by morning. I stared at her from across the kitchen island and felt like I was watching a stranger imitate my wife. I didn't say anything at first. I was still playing defense, waiting for her to crack. But she didn't. She asked if I was going to be late for work. She mentioned something about new yoga mats. Then she looked at me with that tight-lipped, pitying smirk, the one she used when she thought I was being fragile, and said, "You're still sulking about the party, aren't you?" Still sulking. Still sulking. She didn't know I had seen her with Drew. She didn't know I had the audio of her mocking me while she clinked glasses with him. She didn't know I had the Westport insecurity footage of her and my brother, Logan, at 3:12 a.m., slipping into a hotel room like guilt never existed. She didn't know someone was feeding me all her secrets one file at a time. And I wasn't about to tell her. Not yet. "Wade," she said, louder this time. "What's with the face? Seriously, you've been acting so paranoid lately." I smiled. "Have I?" She nodded, pouring herself almond milk like she was auditioning for a commercial. "You overthink everything. You always have. That's why you're so exhausted all the time. If you just let things go, we could actually enjoy life. Let things go. Like a marriage. Like family. Like trust." I stared at her and wondered how many more masks she had tucked away. How many times she'd practiced smiling while thinking about someone else. I wondered if she'd ever loved me at all, or if I was just the longest-running character in the show she'd been directing since the day we met. She left for work around 10:15. I waited until I heard her car pull out of the driveway, then opened my phone. There was a new message from the stranger. She knows the walls are closing in. She's reaching out to people, trying to shift the story. If she thinks you know everything, she'll flip the narrative. Play victim. Twist you into the villain. I replied, "Then it's time people heard the truth." The reply came seconds later. "Start with Logan." God, Logan. Just typing his name made my stomach churn. I hadn't spoken to him since the video. Since I watched my own brother press his hand to the small of my wife's back like it was his birthright. There were no words left between us. Only silence and the sick knowledge that blood doesn't mean loyalty and family can sometimes hurt you worse than strangers. But if I was going to move forward, I had to confront him. I drove across town to his apartment. Same cheap blinds, same crooked welcome mat, like nothing inside had changed, except now I knew what kind of betrayal those walls had witnessed. He answered the door in sweatpants and a hangover. "Wade," he said, rubbing his eyes. "What's going on, man? You look like hell." I didn't speak. I just held up my phone, thumb hovering over the video. Before I pressed play, I said, voice shaking, "Do you want to tell me anything? Anything at all?" Logan froze. His smile died. That was the moment I knew he'd seen it too. Maybe Jenna had warned him. Maybe he just knew this day would come. But instead of apologizing, instead of falling apart the way I did, he shrugged. I didn't plan it, he muttered. It just happened. It just happened? I laughed, the sound coming out broken and cold. What part just happened? Logan? Booking the room? The second time? Or the moment you looked me in the eye 2 weeks later and asked me to help you move? He had the audacity to look annoyed. Look, you were never happy. She told me that. Said you were sleepwalking through your marriage. She told you that? I stepped closer. And you believed her? That's all it took? A few compliments, a little flirting, and suddenly you're a therapist with no ethics. She said she loved me, he blurted out. Okay. She said she loved me. I stared at him. The man who shared my blood, who used to call me hero when we were kids. And now he was just a man standing in the wreckage of my marriage, pretending he hadn't struck the first match. I turned to leave. You're not going to hit me, he asked. No, I said, already walking away. I want you to remember I didn't. That way, when this all goes public, you won't have a single scar to hide behind. I drove home in a daze. The world outside the window felt fake, too quiet, too clean. But inside, I was already unraveling the next step. It was time. No more silence. No more hiding. Jenna had built her kingdom on lies. And I was going to be the one who pulled the curtain. I didn't explode. I didn't shatter plates or post screenshots or scream at her in public. I didn't throw my ring in her face or key her car. I thought about all of that. I even imagined the headlines in my mind, dramatic and cinematic, man unleashes wrath after wife's betrayal. But in the end, I did something worse. I let her talk. When Jenna came home that evening, she acted exactly as I knew she would. Calm, calculated, charming in that way that had once convinced me she could never lie, the kind of ease that only comes from a person who believes they'll never get caught. She walked into the kitchen with Thai takeout and said, "Truce?" Like we were playing a game. Like the last week of pain and betrayal could be wiped away with pad thai and sweet chili sauce. I didn't answer right away. I just motioned toward the table, where I had set everything out. A laptop, an envelope, my wedding ring, and a manila folder, the kind that used to be full of client designs and sketches. Tonight, it held the truth. She sat, one eyebrow raised. What's all this? I opened the laptop and hit play. The screen lit up with the hotel hallway video. Her walking into the room. Logan waiting. Her face, her gestures, unmistakable. She blinked, but didn't look away. Then I played the audio clip, her voice from the party, laughing at how easy I was to manipulate. I saw her jaw tighten, just slightly. Not shock. Not even guilt. Recognition. Then came the photos. Her with Drew. The one from the rooftop, timestamped to the minute I was giving my speech about our marriage. I laid the printout on the table like evidence in a courtroom. She didn't move. She didn't cry. When it was over, she leaned back in her chair and simply said, "I was going to tell you." "No," I said, softly. "You were going to keep using me until you didn't need me anymore." She opened her mouth to respond, but I stopped her. "I'm not here for an apology. I'm not even here for an explanation. I just want you to understand something." I picked up the ring and placed it on the table in front of her. "You didn't break me. You broke the illusion I was living in. You showed me who you are. And now I get to choose who I become." Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done," I said. "Not just with you. With the version of myself that kept making excuses for the way you chipped away at me year after year." I slid the manila folder across the table. Inside were the signed divorce papers, already processed, already finalized. Thanks to the evidence and the quiet legal advice I'd taken over the past 2 weeks, everything was clean, binding, and entirely in my favor. She'd walked into the trap without even seeing the net. Her face finally cracked, not out of heartbreak, but out of loss. She realized she wasn't going to win this one. "Wade," she whispered. I stood up. "Goodbye, Jenna." And I meant it. The next month was quieter than I expected. No dramatic text messages. No pleas. Just silence. Logan tried to call once. I didn't answer. He texted me, but I never read it. He and Jenna deserved each other. Two people addicted to the rush of secrets and the thrill of destruction. I wished them well. Quietly. From far away. And me? I started over. I moved out of the house and into a smaller place by the lake. Nothing fancy, just clean and full of sunlight. I got a dog, a rescue, nervous and skittish, but full of heart. I started painting again. Not because I was good at it, but because for once, I didn't care who was watching. I let myself breathe. Sometimes, I walk past the bakery where I almost bought Jenna a cake for our 10th anniversary. I don't flinch anymore. I just smile, grab a coffee, and think about how strange it is to be grateful for something that once shattered me. Because the truth is, she didn't ruin me. She released me. And for the first time in years, I'm not walking on eggshells or pretending things are fine. I'm just living. And that's the part she never saw coming.